It's the playoffs.
The playoffs for the playoffs. For the playoffs?
It's the play-in games.
For the
But,
playoffs.
So do they have future odds for player most likely to get thrown out of Augusta next year?
Tyrell Hatton.
Not to interrupt the podcast, but Lynx played that a lot growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Great computer game.
We've never talked about this?
No.
Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our Golf DFS podcast. My name is Mike. I have Kyle and Jordan here on Tuesday, April 12th. We'll open a little bit differently. We'll just kind of get right into it. I know that people are anxious to talk about the Masters, so we will have plenty of time to talk about the Masters and then, of course, preview the RBC Heritage Classic at Harbortown in our second half and lots of other good stuff, including the NBA playoffs, which, guys, I probably haven't tuned in the NBA in like 6 to 7 years, but the Timberwolves are like less than terrible this year.
They're in the playoffs, man. We're watching it right now.
I know.
My first playoff game, my first NBA viewing, and
this isn't playoffs. Like, I don't even understand what's going on.
It's the playoffs.
the playoffs for the playoffs. For the playoffs?
It's the play-in games.
For the
But,
playoffs.
I give the Timberwolves credit. They're the 7 seed, which if it was the normal top 8 make it,
Can we
in
just
the playoffs.
Can we
But
just
they're
talk
pro-
about what this format is?
They're playing for the 7 seed. So I think
Jordan, I think
They're
Jordan.
already the 7 seed.
I got it down, I think, from listening to the radio today. All right. So they win this game. They beat the Clippers tonight. Then they're the 7 seed. But if they lose it, then they play the winner of the 9 and 10
The Pelicans, Spurs,
seed.
which, the Spurs deserve a playoff spot. They're 34 and 48 on the season.
They have an
Okay.
Iowa Hawkeye though.
So
Spurs.
you have a consolation game if you lose between the 7 and 8, and then the 9 and 10 seeds have to win 2 games to get in the playoffs.
Yep.
The 7 and 8s have to lose 2 games to be out of the playoffs.
Yes.
Boy,
The playoffs for the playoffs.
the playoffs for the playoffs.
Yeah. It works better in years where the 9 and 10 seed don't suck as bad as they do this year. Even the 9 seed is 10 games under 500.
So do
They
NBA
didn't
fans
even have a chance to be in it.
do NBA fans like this format?
I mean, it's exciting, right? Like, this is if the Timberwolves win right now, they're in. So, like, the arena's sold out. It's an extra game.
Does look like a good atmosphere.
Yeah. And, like, the 9 and 10 seeds would be done. So all Pelicans and Spurs fans love it. They now have a chance.
All right.
And last year, the first year of it was last year, and I think it was the Grizzlies were the 9 seed and won 2 games to become the 8 seed and make it into the real playoffs.
So I guess I'll take another 6 years off, and we'll see what happens when I tune back in. But all right, well, I guess something for basketball fans to be cheering for right now. I still don't quite understand it. Beer wise, we just finished off. We had Modist false pattern, double false pattern, which I think is very good. And we're trying to do some nice beers tonight because Kyle is going to relocate for a little bit and we'll be remote for a while doing this virtually.
Yeah,
Might see some video coming up.
He's moving to the New Jersey of the Midwest.
He'll be back. Yes, good tease though, Kyle. We hopefully, because if we want to grow our YouTube presence, we're going to have to do video, and so we want to tease that out. We are working on it. We're trying to figure out the right way to do that. So that means that we had a very good beer to start. But, Kyle, in order to send you off properly, I wanted to share something that's been in the back of my fridge for 6 months. And this is none other than, I've been saving it for a pod night. Imprint Beer Company, which is located in Pennsylvania, has made the Raspberry Marshmallow Fudge Brownie, Liquified Raspberry Marshmallow Fudge Brownie. Clocks in at Well, they don't even put the ABV on this because it's so good. But it is nitrogen, so it's on nitro in this can. I don't hear a little widget in there. But I'm gonna open this up, and this might just be straight drain pour. But
apparently there's a liquefied and a non-liquefied version.
We're really excited about this. The best thing about this beer might be the can.
It actually smells really good. It ranks
on Craft Shack, whatever this website is. It goes for $10. It's a 12% ABV. 12% ABV.
Wow.
All right.
Looks delightful. I can't wait to try it. Mike, fill me up here. Oh, yeah, that's plenty. That's plenty. Why, Kyle's... Oh.
Yeah, we might have an ingredient issue here.
There's a lot of floaters. And normally the floaters sink to the bottom in beer. These...
I
think that's
the top.
Yeah. I think that's the raspberry cake.
That's the marshmallows. The marshmallows are floating like it's hot chocolate.
Wow. Sort of smells like an elf crapped in my cup.
Oh.
Kai, you're not going to try this?
It might have some lactose in it.
My bad. It doesn't say it on the can. How would you know?
Looked it up.
Well, I tell you what, you're really missing out. You're really missing out. All right. Well, now that we finally opened the raspberry fudge brownie, we can talk about the Masters. And I just want to say that it lives up to, no matter what happens in the golf tournament, it's such a great weekend of golf. And I feel like it really kicks off the golf season. I mean, I know we've been doing this for a few months now, but now we get a big tournament every 4 weeks. We have a ton of great stuff in between. Like it just feels like the golf season's here. I love this weekend.
It does feel like it's here, except for it's supposed to snow tomorrow in Minnesota. Minnesota's had the worst spring ever. It's holding us back a little bit.
National audience doesn't really care.
But it's like that. It is. Masters is spring. It's time to get out and go golfing.
Yeah.
And now we can't quite do it yet, but
Yeah.
no, it was awesome.
It's
awesome watching the most golf I've watched all year.
Yeah,
It'll be the most golf I watch all year also.
Yeah, the TV experience. They just, outside of not being able to watch stuff early like we can on the other events now on ESPN Plus, but just how the whole thing's done, and
there was a lot of
the course looking so amazing.
Those monkeys that you heard on the...
I swear they had the wrong sound feed on Saturday morning on ESPN Plus for a hot second, and they had the jungle theme instead of the normal
Steve
birds.
Irwin.
There was a lot of folks on other pods gushing about the drone shots, and obviously that's been like a huge thing certainly in golf coverage. I mean, any sport, but golf coverage with the ability to just get camera angles from different spots, and so like you really see Augusta in a different way.
Did you see the drone inside the building at some point?
I did not.
Sunday, they had it. It flew over like the Eisenhower desk and a few other things, and like, oh look, the drone was in the places where normal patrons can't go.
Those drone operators are pretty incredible.
Yes. Have you ever watched ESPN the Ocho drone races? It's pretty crazy.
Unfortunately, but yes, those kids have a bright future ahead of them in golf broadcasting.
Yes.
Those
kids are 45, but yes.
I don't know if they had some new camera angles this year as well, but I felt like as a viewer, I had much better understanding of the elevation changes than I've had in the past. And it's pretty aggressive. And somebody called it the toughest walk on tour.
Yeah, there is. I mean, Jordan, you've been there, so you know that
It's very hilly.
Yeah.
Very hilly.
And those bunkers are huge.
I was just going to say, you texted, like, are those bunkers as big as they look? They are. The bunkers are enormous.
Yeah, and like a lot of those shots that they're hitting from the bottom of them are like at least 8 feet up to get back to the green, and pretty ridiculous. Great camera angles. Yeah, the coverage was awesome. A couple of other notes. I felt like, I know we've criticized Scotty Scheffler for his hat choices, and I feel like we got to the bottom of it. He literally just wears what Tiger Woods wore the day before. Did you see the shirt that he wore on Sunday was a shirt that Tiger wore on Saturday? And I feel like he just takes stuff out of his locker and just says, this hat works. I'll just wear that.
I've never seen Tiger wear a tennis hat.
That's a good point. But yeah, it's kind of cool that he.
I will say I have to take back my Steve Stricker comment for Scotty Scheffler.
You think
Now that he won the now I'll take it back. Now he's more of a David Duvall.
Well, the comparison everyone's making, and Kyle, I'm giving you all the credit because the no laying up guys just talked about it a whole bunch on Sunday. But the Spieth comparison, I think a lot of people are making the comparison to 2015 when Spieth came out and won a couple majors and contended in the others and won a few other events. But like they are two very different people.
I think I saw a stat. Well, yeah, for sure on Spieth. And I like that. That's getting some airplay out there since, I feel like I kind of started that one.
I think you did in my book.
So I saw another stat to compare Scotty's run here. And the last PGA player that has won 4 events, including a major, in a 8-event stretch was Jason Day.
Yeah.
And I forget how good Jason Day was for a hot 2 years there.
Yeah. I mean, until he kind of had the back and wrist problems. Maybe it was just his wrist. He had some injuries. But it's a good point about, like, and Spieth was, I think, kind of crowned, like, he was crowned as, like, the savior, right? The post-Tiger era savior. And now we have since crowned, like, several people, I feel like, since 2013 or so. Jason Day can be included in that. And the reality is that I just think that, like, golf is so much less disruptible now than it was when Tiger was first emerging. Mm-hmm. Just the training regimen and the athletics and the equipment and the strategy and all that. Like, Tiger surprised a whole generation of golfers with a completely different way to play. But now, like, there are so many players that are able to play like that, that all we get, Scotty might be done on this run in I mean, I'll say this, but he might be done on this run in like a few weeks. And it will just kind of go into the history books like Spieth, like Jason Day, even John Rahm, of just like, hey, they had a good run.
I appreciate this time right now, though, because it still feels like there's 12 golfers right now that could win 2 majors this year, and you wouldn't blink an eye at it.
We saw all of them at the top of the leaderboard at the Masters, which is what made Sunday so great.
Yeah, and if you think about, like, who's the next Scotty Scheffler, right? What, Will Zalatoris?
I mean, he hasn't won, so he probably is.
There's a lot of names out there that you've heard of and have been playing really well and could easily go on a, maybe not, this is a ridiculous stretch, right? I saw a tweet that the only people that have done this are Tiger, like 6 times, and Scotty Scheffler.
Right.
Right, like maybe not this ridiculous of a stretch, but, win a couple in a row.
Yeah.
And, they're the next whoever. But you see the names already starting to form. Like, who's next? It's that 22 to 24-year-old range.
Yeah, it's kind of less about, it's less about who's the next Tiger. It's more about, like you're saying, this group of, like, 12 golfers, like, let's let them duke it out for the next few years, because I feel good about cheering for that group of 12 guys and getting excited to see them win golf tournaments. And it makes Ryder Cups a lot more fun. So anyways, it's certainly a good time to appreciate what he's doing.
You mentioned Will, by the way. That's a person I will flag plan on. He's going to win a Masters.
Yeah.
He's already 2 top 10s and a second place finish, right, in his first 2 showings.
Well, another guy too. The stats are coming out today.
Don't say Tom Hoagie. Come on.
No, you know what? We'll take a break on Tom Hoagie until the second half of the show when I can pump him up for no. Morikawa now owns a top 5 in every major tournament, and he's only played 9 of them.
Wow,
that's pretty cool.
And so there are a bunch of guys that are kind of like, and he's won twice, but like that are just like here knocking on the door every time they show up at a big event. And it's the only guy that hasn't really done it lately is Brooks. So, anyways, last point. I tried to make Rory a thing with you guys on Sunday. You weren't really buying it.
You kept trying to go there. He's coming.
I did. The basement just about melted down when he holed out that bunker shot on 18. Obviously, we have spoiler gate. It shouldn't have been that exciting, but I think I moved the furniture. How excited I was when that shot went in.
It was a hell of a Sunday from him. It's just too bad he can't get over this whole first round of majors thing he's got going on, because
it is.
Yeah, he came hard, but I just couldn't see a way that both Scotty and Cam would give enough strokes away to put it within reach, even with a historic round that he had.
Rory has
Cam
like,
came
and
back.
only Cam did and crushed my hopes and dreams of DFS glory.
well, let's talk a little bit about performance this week. So I think,
But hold on, before we move on,
yeah, what do you got?
who was my pick last week that you guys all laughed at me, and then he made the cut, didn't do well after the cut, but Tiger, are we not going to talk about Tiger? He made the cut and limped his way through.
What he did on Thursday was very impressive. I'll say that for certain. But where he actually ended up for scoring relative to the salary probably still wasn't worth it even with the made cut.
Oh, I completely agree, but he made the cut.
He did. He did. I think Kyle, that got you a few extra bucks in a DK promo, probably.
Yep, it did. Yeah.
The thing is, I actually thought was interesting was he really putted poorly,
So bad.
and that is like the one thing you kind of felt like he should have been able to have in control despite the state of his body. His iron play was excellent. He was ripping the driver, the things that you wouldn't have expected to hold up through the weekend, and it was his putter that let him down. So, obviously it was very impressive. Thursday's round was very impressive, and he's going to play in the Open. That's pretty cool, and we'll talk all about this again in 2 months.
Yeah. I will say, I sent you guys that picture of him with Saturday.
With his crooked legs.
With his crooked,
That might have been a little bit of an optical illusion.
it was, but
He's wearing wind
you can
pants.
tell all along when he's walking and everything, that right leg is not
No, it's
good.
not good.
And did you see him after he finished his round?
Yeah,
and he was hugging
Yeah.
the kids and
He was
stuff.
kind
and
of on a little bit of a
and he
hill,
was
but
like-
yeah, that did not look good.
talk about guy with cojones, though, right?
Yeah. No, he held it in for the weekend. He didn't really show much weakness.
There's our 60 seconds.
There we go. Yeah. Anyways, RTG model was very good. Obviously, made cuts wise, we had a lot of them, but that's to be expected when the field's only 94 players. But really, we had everybody at the top there that we wanted to play. Cam, JT. The one that really hurt us, I think, was Woodland. That was certainly our big landmine of the week. Even Scotty had decent love. He wasn't as high up. But yeah, Woodland was the one. I think if we would have got that together, would have held a few more lineups intact. And then I could have done without Adam Scott shooting 80 on Saturday. But otherwise, I think decent week for the gang.
Woodland making the cut would have made me a lot of money this week.
Agree.
A lot of money.
Agree. But the guy was 6,900, so
You're taking a swing.
you always got to take that with a grain of salt there. Yeah, like you said, Mike, overall a good week. I probably got a little bit too spread with my player pool. Just got a little, Masters hype going and built a couple extra lineups I didn't need to. So it could have been a better week than it was, but really encouraged with how things look. You mentioned JT, Cam Smith was up there, Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, Will Zalatoris, all had a lot of love and finished with a T10.
Yeah, and it made Sunday very, very exciting. Listener League was our biggest contest ever. We have a return champion in JYATD taking down the top spot. Kyle, what happened? You finished second.
I led almost all week. Cam Smith, he took me down with him. And that lineup had Scotty and Cam in it.
Ouch.
And you still didn't win.
No, I think I also had Woodland in there too. So yeah, but hung on to second. Jordan narrowly slipped out to fourth. Unfortunately,
I had 6. I had everyone make the cut.
Yeah, well, Arano WM12 got you in third place there. So good week. I think this is what I'll say about the Listener League. Again, we had our biggest group so far. I think a number of people said that they only want to do it for the majors. And if you didn't make money in the Listener League this last week for the Masters, I suggest you play again for the RBC and try to make that money back. And if you don't win for the RBC, you play the next week and the next week, and you always try to make your money back, right?
If you win, that pays for 7 weeks of entries.
Yeah, that's what I say to anyone out there that's thinking of not playing every week. This is exactly how you should think about it. So looking forward then to Listener League again for the RBC. A couple of other notes. Our best expert this week was Matt McKay in Fantasy Pros. He's been one of our hottest experts. We've been talking about him a bunch. We've been tweeting about him a bunch, but his picks have been really good. He had 3 of 3 made cuts: Smith, Zalatoris, Rom. Obviously, those guys together, you would have had to take a couple of other cheaper pivots, but pretty good showings. Rom kind of just hung around in the middle of the pack after making the cut. I don't know. I've heard some chatter that maybe his attitude is just not well suited to winning the Masters. He doesn't really appreciate being there and kind of soaking up the moment, but we'll see.
I was really counting on Rom to come with that backdoor top 10.
I know
that he's been so good at lately. That would have been big for my lineups as well, where I used him as a little bit of a pivot play, but. He had a pretty nice round. It was 3 under on Sunday.
Yeah.
But left a couple out there.
Maybe he's watching Tiger too much on Sunday.
They were joking around a little bit coming down the back.
They were chatting.
Yeah, which was kind of good to see with some of the comments.
Did you hear who did follow Tiger on Sunday?
Bryson.
Yeah.
That's actually like, I give him some credit. That's kind of cool. The number of guys that like hang around at Augusta on Sunday and just kind of like hang with the guys, I think is cool. But Bryson like in the gallery.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
To watch the GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good of him.
Yep.
Kyle, parting thoughts on the Masters?
All right, wanted to end the Masters talk by jumping ahead a year. So DraftKings has the 2023 Masters odds up. So going to quiz you guys a little bit. Let's just talk a little betting. Who do you think who has the best outright odds at this point in time?
I have not seen this. This is a really good question though.
They are plus 900 and the next person's 1200.
I'm gonna go with Cam Smith. No, he's probably not. It's probably Rom.
I'm gonna go Rory.
Justin Thomas. Plus 900.
Man, he had a good week, but he never really threatened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine that Cam Smith has got to be up there though. Like the way that he's played that golf course lately,
he'll always be.
It's just gonna happen.
So, a couple interesting things. So Cam Smith is 4th, plus 1600 now. They don't have Rory on the board.
It's.
I mean, he only got 3rd this year, second. Yeah.
That's interesting. This sounds like we might need a different future odds.
Well, let me just update. Let's see if something was going. I did. So we've mentioned our betting guy Derek before. He already placed a bet for Will next year, plus 3,500.
I like that. Like those guys, like Zalatoris has played that course so well. Cam Smith has played that course so well. Like it just feels like it's almost like Sergio, and even Roy, you could throw Roy in that bucket. Like eventually, you figure it's going to happen because they play so well there.
Yeah, I'm guessing Rory's odds are being adjusted. Maybe somebody is already hitting it, so that's why they took it down for the hot second.
The first one I googled and found was Rory was the best at 12-1.
Yeah, this was on DraftKings Sportsbook.
So did they have future odds for player most likely to get thrown out of Augusta next year?
Tyrell Hatton.
Couple of behavioral issues that maybe he might get reprimanded for that were caught on TV. But anyways, Jordan, anything else on the Masters?
No, it's the best week of golf all year.
Yeah. Your bank account was probably a little more intact after not being on site this year.
Yes. I mean, if we want to get into it, I sent these guys a text. I was in first place in my 25-cent league for quite a while on Sunday, and then I ended up making like $2 on it.
Well, you can save that money for the gift shop next time, for the merch tent next time we go down to the Masters. But
yep.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about the RBC Heritage Classic. Welcome back. We have our RBC Heritage preview.
But before that, Mike, we have a correction.
Okay, fine. Let's just do it.
So, might have got a little lost trying to do the podcast, look at the DraftKings app, and
got our tournaments mixed up on our future odds.
Yep.
So, when we were talking about Justin Thomas, Cam Smith,
Rory McIlroy,
those were the odds for the
RBC.
Okay.
Oh yeah, not the Rory, because you said Rory wasn't.
He wasn't on the board.
Yeah,
because I
he's
was
not
looking at the wrong event.
playing.
So there's a 3-way tie for 2023 Masters.
Okay.
Rory, John Rahm, and Scotty Tuhati at 1,100.
So 2 guys that we mentioned, and then someone that believes that Scotty Scheffler is going to continue this for another 12 months.
But then you got Justin Thomas and Cam Smith at 1,200, right behind him. Followed by DJ, Colin, Brooks, Spieth, Hovland.
All the guys that we would expect.
Yeah, and just in case you wanted to throw out like Max Homa, you can get him for plus 8,000 right now.
Where's Will Z at there?
35 is what he was. He's still there. 35.
35-1, really. I think that's a great number to get Zalatoris at for next
The
year.
same number. This kind of blows my mind as Bryson and Hideki.
Well, Bryson kind of plays like trash now.
Yeah.
But a champion.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
My apologies there.
Nope. Thanks for owning that.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to get our bets in for a year from now. But we do have the RBC, and so we do know that JT is the favorite on the odds board. Pretty strong field at Harbortown. Harbortown is a course. I've never played there. I don't know if either of you guys have.
Not at this course,
But at one of the other ones at the resort.
the other Pete Dye course right across the road. Jordan and I both did.
Do you remember what that's called?
Huron Point by Pete Dye.
Okay.
Heron, yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember going down. So I remember in Hilton Head. I think I played at another course maybe called Sea Pines.
I think there's 3. There's Davis Love III.
He's down in Sea Island, Georgia.
No, I think he has one
he
as
has one
part
there.
of this complex as well. There's 3 courses.
Well, this is always a course that he played really well at on tour back in his
I
prime.
think he
in the
has
90s.
4 dubs, right?
I think that's right. Yeah, back when it was called the MCI or something like that. But I remember having a computer game when I was little called Lynx, and Harbortown was one of the courses. And I just remember the lighthouse, and that was like the first kind of like iconic golf course that I really like could relate to. And so I feel like this course gets panned a little bit, probably because it comes in after the Masters, and there's just like a huge letdown. It doesn't play all that tough. And so it has that sort of like recognition because of the name and the signature 18th hole, but it's not really as tough of a course as I think maybe we think it is.
A very different course, but it's still Pete Dye, so you have to be very strategic on where you leave yourself.
Makes it a second shot course usually, and
Yeah, and I forget. I wish I remember who it was, but in preparing this week's content, one of the main PGA Tour players, and it was not Webb Simpson, we all know his history here, but said this is their favorite event on tour.
Wow.
maybe there's some of the intangibles. Maybe it's how they treat their family while they're in town.
Yeah, Atlantic Dunes by Davis Love III is the
Okay.
third course in the
Okay.
right in the immediate area there.
Also, Mike, not to interrupt the podcast, but Lynx played that a lot growing up.
Oh yeah,
Great computer game.
we never talked about this.
No.
Oh my god, we had versions and versions and versions. I think the originals you had to go into like the boot screen to get it to start, but like
So great.
Can we get a live Lynx playing some like dad event maybe next December? Link will.
we could probably find like an emulator online where you could play it, but like
Yes.
I'm trying to think of like all of the one-liners that the little avatar would say when you would hit a shot. Like if you're on the green, you'd be like, "Oh, you're dancing." Or come back if you airmailed one. Anyways, I'm sure my brother and my cousins, we played that game so much.
Yes.
Probably
I
laughing.
just found online the CD case that it came
And
in.
that's exactly what it was. Oh my god, we bought so many expansion packs for that. Just courses and courses.
Wow. And then Tiger Woods Golf came out and Lynx was no longer.
That's right. Oh man, I'm glad. I did not know we had that connection.
Yeah. Played a lot of Lynx golf growing up.
All right. Well, that's my relationship with Harbortown. So we're back to a top 65 in ties making the cut event. And so Kyle, what's the model looking like right now? I know we had a couple of guys kind of breaking away, and then a big group bunching up right below them.
Yeah, at this point in time, we're still waiting on 5 or 6 contributors. We have a couple of people with a little Masters hangover maybe and being a little slow. But we have 2 leading the way right at about 50% mention share. Colin Morikawa at 10,200. Adam Hadwin at 7,600. So a little bit of a cheaper option there for you, who's been in some great form, and a lot of the contributors have pointed out, Hadwin, based on his form, 7,600 seems like a bit of a misprice. Mm-hmm. So getting a little bit of a break there. Right after that we have a big bunch up in the 30% share range. I'm not going to hit on everyone, but just you got a couple of the big names in there. Justin Thomas, Shane Lowry coming off a great finish. Obviously Webb Simpson, who has some great course history here, and Kevin Streelman as well on the cheaper side. So we'll get those updated as soon as we get the last couple contributors in next week, and hopefully see a little bit of separation there at that 33% mention share.
So who do you like? I'm guessing you like Hadwin this week, but where else would you go?
Yeah, I think you gotta look at Adam Hadwin at that price point. Joel Idone on odds checkers on him, who's been pretty strong lately. On the $9,000 range, so not quite to the top of the board, I'm looking at Daniel Berger. He's also in that 33% mention share at this point in time. Brandon Gadula, who's been pretty hot at number fires on him. So some of my more cash game builds that I'm probably going to go with a little bit more of a balanced approach, I'll have Mr. Berger as part of my lineup. And then my third play of the week, I'm going there again. I'm not going away. Matt Fitzpatrick, the top 15 machine. And he's still not, he's creeped up into the $9,000 range, but he's still not at a price point I'm staying away.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you got to pay for him this week. He's not getting that $7,700 like he has been,
which was amazing. But yeah.
Right. So and this is gonna be contrary to some of my or one of my plays, but I kind of have a tough time with the top of the salary board this week with a lot of the 10K plays and then some of the 9K plays. Like, it feels like I'm not fading the Masters hangover, but like, it seems like this is an event that for guys that didn't have the pressure of 4 days at Augusta, there might be some opportunity for them to jump up. And so, especially if I'm looking at my tournament lineups, trying to find some value in the 7 and 8K range and possibly finding a winner in there.
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to go down board as well on GPP. I'm going to have probably a little bit more of a studs and duds. So I probably will look at someone towards the top, and I don't know exactly who yet, but I will be reaching down. I agree. It's probably tough coming off the Masters, but I did read one of the articles we have as one of our contributors that run through a statistical analysis there, and it's not necessarily to fade guys that have contended at the Masters, but there hasn't been much correlation between winning this event and contending at the Masters.
Sure. So I do think, so that being said, I do think that as I look at cash games, I like Colin Morikawa. I think that he certainly played very well at Augusta last week. His ball striking has been excellent. He's been feeling great about his game as he's talked about it. And so if I am looking up the board, I am liking Colin this week, and he's at the top currently in our mentioned shares. The other guy that I thought was maybe a little bit of a misprice, and I know that there's quite a few decent players that are playing this event, but Neiman down at 9,100. I mean, Neiman has been great this year, so I feel like maybe he's priced down a few $100s at 9,100, and so that's another guy that I think I could probably pair with someone like Morikawa and still be in okay shape salary wise. And then Kyle, I promised you an off-model play, but I'm thankfully we're able to get a little bit of love for Virginia Cavalier Denny McCarthy, and we talked, and actually I heard Joe Idone talk about this, not in his DFS content that we follow, but around long shot bets, and he was all over Denny. And I think the point is we're back to Bermuda greens. We need a guy that's been hitting the ball really well. Denny fits that. We're going to get him at 7,200, and and our guy Pat Mayo likes him in his tiered values play. So Denny's going to be, if maybe he gets a little more love than the 4% share that he has right now, I might be playing a little bit more of him.
I was just gonna ask you, would you slip Mayo to include him in that article?
I needed that. Otherwise, if he was not mentioned, I wouldn't have been saying him right now. But I think
wasn't Denny McCarthy the guy that had a bunch of car lots here in Minneapolis?
He was, yes. So
and then went to prison.
And then when he got out,
he got good at golf.
He got a degree from UVA, got good at golf, and now he's on the PGA Tour.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
Yeah, so he's got my vote this week as a Bermuda specialist. I think that's what we need.
Nice. So I was, as you guys were talking about Masters, non-Masters players, I was looking at the top. What is this? 14 in our sheet. Only 2 of them didn't play in the Masters. So there's a strong correlation of picks by our experts to picks for people that played in the Masters. I mean, it's only...
And who are those 2? Kuchar?
Streelman and Kuchar.
That's good to know. And I think kind of to Mike's point earlier, not staying away from the Masters, but I do think you can build a strong lineup with a lot of those guys, but then there's probably going to be someone down board who maybe wins, but also contends. That's, rested last.
I mean, how if you're I mean, I know I talked about Morikawa, but if you're JT, if you're Cameron Smith, if you're Colin Morikawa, how do you make the trip from after that week at Augusta and you're coming up here because you got a sponsor requirement or whatever it is?
That's only
Mike,
Dustin Johnson, by the way, with the sponsor requirement.
Mike, have you ever played a Pirates Cove mini golf and then gone to a Joe Blow's putt-putt? It's just easier. Right? Augusta is the Pirates Cove of the mini golf world. And this is just going to hit a straight putt, hit one angle, right? Like there is like a different, like they spend all this energy and all that. You hear all the hills and the bunkers and everything about Augusta.
Course, yeah.
And now you go play an ocean course that isn't that hard to begin with. Like now they're like, I want to prove I'm good at golf.
Oh, maybe.
I'm not going to shoot an 85 on Sunday like Tyrrell Hatton did.
Talking about people I'd stay away from, but let's be real here, okay? It's not like what was it, the event in Hawaii, the Sony
Century.
Open, Century, when no one's going out here winning this thing with 30 under.
Right. Well, Jordan,
but they're not shooting 80 either.
Fair. The winner is probably in that 20 range if the weather stays good. Jordan, why don't you enlighten us with where you're looking this week?
So I keep building out lineups and I keep avoiding all the expensive guys. So
I think that's okay.
Kyle's going studs and duds, and like my lineups end up looking just like duds and duds.
To clarify, that was my GPP approach. In cash, I'm definitely going more balance.
Again, we're talking a lot about Joe Idone though. I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet from him today that said he was like, here's my 2 7K value picks. He's like, but to be honest, my whole lineup is 7K value picks.
Yeah, it's a duds and duds lineup. That's what my highest MPI. I'm going with the MPI here. I'm going with Kevin Dana, right? Like he's gonna be good this week. He's got 96% MPI. That's great. He's my guy this week. The next one down, their cheapest play is Joel Dahman. He's got 23% mention share.
That feels JJ Spawn-ish.
I always like him. He never, I don't know. Of all the names coming down the list, I'm like, okay, so he's by far the cheapest. He's $500 cheaper than anyone else above him.
Yeah. I do like Joel Dahman. He seems like it would be a fun guy to have a beer with.
Yeah. And then the last one, who I don't know who he is, but he might be fun to have a beer with. This Brian Flight Steward would be a really good guy. I don't know who he is, but he's really cheap and he's got 4 mentions.
All right, so
did you Google him to see who he is?
I know who Brian Stewart is. He has one win on the PGA Tour at the Zurich Classic New Orleans.
Oh, so
in 2016.
Before it was a team event?
Yes, in 2016. And he has only played in the Masters one time. He got T36 in 2017. he has played in 6 U.S. Opens and missed 5 cuts.
Can I ask a question about the?
Oh, he's a Callaway guy, so I'm in. Now that I'm a Callaway guy, I'm in. I'm in on him.
A couple of points. First, the Zurich Classic. Apparently, Scotty Scheffler must have. I thought I heard that he's supposed to play with Ryan Palmer. They're both Texans, both Dallas guys, I think. Do you think he big times him for the Zurich Classic and maybe finds a partner that maybe is more his his caliber?
No, I mean,
He's
Palmer
not-
said.
He's now won enough money, doesn't mean now he just gets to hang out and have fun. He pays for Palmer's weekend.
Probably.
I mean, we're jumping ahead of ourselves, but you're not going to beat the Australian pair anyway.
No, I think they're teaming up again. I think I heard that Morikawa and Hovland are going to play together. Like that feels like an unstoppable force. But anyways,
you have Cantlay and Schauffele.
Yeah. Now we're not previewing the Zurich right now.
Can we go back to Brian Stewart? He hasn't even played in an event since.
Hey.
Oh no, I guess he played in some. Okay.
I don't know why. Why are we talking about Brian Stewart?
Because he's my pick.
Because your pick. Okay.
my
What's his mention share?
He
19.
is at 19% for 6,700.
He has some good course history here.
Okay.
All right.
I had literally never heard of him once, and I thought he hadn't played in any tournaments. No, he's played in all of them.
All right.
We just haven't had a single mention in any of our other events for him.
He's T16 at Valspar. He was T9 at the Honda Classic.
Look at this guy. Jordan is onto something.
Yeah.
Kyle, do you want to try to break down tiers?
Sorry, it was down Brian Stewart rabbit hole here.
That's what I'm good for, Kyle.
We're gonna look at tier 2 this week, just because with this event I was pretty surprised by the value of names we had. So we've already talked about Colin Morikawa. We have Corey Connors, Daniel Berger, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Patrick Cantlay. So a lot of ways you can go. Patrick Cantlay did miss his last cut here, but outside of that has some great event history as well. But leading the way at this point is Morikawa at 47% mention share. Yes, I'm going to recommend him over our guy Fitzpatrick, but that's a really strong tier, so there's going to be a lot of tough decisions, but this time we're looking at Morikawa.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Tough to argue with that one. He's been playing well.
I know it's going to be hard to pay attention to the RBC this week. Obviously, we're going to have enough money on the line to keep it interesting, but it just feels like we're biding our time for a few events until we can get to the end of May and see Scotty Scheffler, torch Southern Hills.
I actually like the RBC as well. Just as we talked about, we did play not necessarily this course, but the sister course to it, and stayed in a house that was right by the lighthouse there. So, a little extra value from my view, and it's a pretty similar. The other course we played was Pete Dye, so pretty similar as well. And I'll be looking forward to it. I'll be tuning in.
All right. Well, we will have our RTG listener contest, of course, so please join that. Again, if you're thinking that you're only going to play for the majors, why not just roll the dice every week with us and join that contest? It's a ton of fun. We did tease out last week that we're trying to do a giveaway. We want to drive some of our subscribers on YouTube specifically, and of course on Twitter. We'll have some more details on that on Twitter, and then of course in the podcast next week. We didn't quite get to the numbers that we wanted over Masters weekend, but that's okay. We're going to double down. We'll get it done for the PGA Championship so we can get some cool swag out to our listeners. But with that, of course, you can find us again on YouTube, on any of the major podcast platforms, and follow us on Twitter throughout the week at RTG Podcast DFS. We'll be back in a week to recap everything from the RBC Heritage Classic and keep on moving with the PGA Tour season. See ya.